Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I'm your host, Lauren. I am going to try and keep this episode short. It's Monday afternoon, and I don't have an episode out yet. So I want to there's a topic I want to talk about, but last night I was feeling kind of punky. I started feeling punky near the end of my day shift, and so I had a big sleep in this morning. And I'm just looking at what do I need to do before I lay down for night shift. And one of them is record a podcast. So I was didn't get it recorded last night. I do try my best to record things ahead of time and schedule them, but with things going on lately, it's been more difficult, so I give myself grace. And part of today's episode will kind of fill you in on that a little bit. Today I want to talk about the importance of surrender and release when things are intense, scary, unknown, dysregulating. Oftentimes, when we don't, it ends up stirring up more stuff. So, especially if you have some sort of faith, some sort of belief in something greater than ourselves, that's kind of it gives us like a conduit to uh, move our struggles through, I guess. Um, Otherwise, it's just whatever it looks like for you. It could be as simple as I just give up my sense of or what's the word? Illusion of power over things or wanting to control things, just surrendering it to like it is what it is. I guess that would be another way to do it. So recently, actually it was last month, I was at my mom's visiting Darla, our cat. So we got Darla in 2011. It was about a year after my dad left, and once in a while I would look at the listings for the local animal shelter, and I saw this cute cat that looked like my childhood kitty, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's so cute." So we went over to see her, and then we ended up adopting her, and we've had her for, well, this spring it'll be 13 years, and she was between a year and about a year and 2 years old at the time, so she's 14 or 15 now. She really doesn't act like it. She's a bit of a chunky monkey, but she's still active. She still likes to play. She'll play by herself, which is super cute. And yeah, she doesn't really act too much like a senior cat. She still sleeps lots, but she always has. That's how cats are, right? They're more active at night. But anywho, she lives with my mom. So I moved out, and she lives with my mom. And then when my mom was away a few weeks ago in December, I would check in on her. So I was checking in on her one day, having a little play. She rolls on her back, lets me pet her belly, and I notice a lump, and which alarmed me. Our first kitty, if you remember from one of the first episodes, Chrissy ended up having cancer in her lymph nodes. And so when I and it was through finding a lump on her belly. So obviously that brought back some feels, and it was like 20 years, pretty much almost the same. I think my dad found it in November, and I don't November, December, and she was diagnosed in January, but same kind of timeline, right? It's like mid-December. So I called the vet the next day, got her an appointment, took her in. It wasn't great by myself. Darla's also a spicy lady. She's super grumpy. She doesn't tolerate shit. Um so it was an interesting experience having to take her to the vet by myself, but I handled it. She had some blood work done. She needed a checkup anyway. We were trying to do every year, and then just I don't know, 2022 is was the year my dad died, and it just kind of it just went as it went, and we didn't get her to the vet that year. And then this past year was also a dumpster fire with all the aftermath stuff going on. I'll talk about that sometime. So it was like I had just been thinking like we do need to get her scheduled in because it's been almost 2 years now. So it was good timing. She needed blood work, just a good checkup and stuff. So he said, we'll do blood work. We'll see if it's rule out some types of cancer or whatever. And then he said, the vet said he was confident if he did surgery, he could remove it with good margins. So We scheduled surgery, and Darla had surgery on February 7th. No, sorry, we're not even in February yet. She had surgery on January 10th. My mom was back. We did it together. It was a very stressful day because taking her to the vet is stressful for her, which also stresses us because we love her and don't want her to be uncomfortable. But she did really well. He took really large margins and then they sent it off to pathology. A few days later, we got a call back that the tumor was an aggressive form of cancer. I believe he called it a mammary, uh, I'm blanking right now, so I don't want to say the wrong word. Adenocarcinoma, I want to say. I haven't looked into that too much, but essentially an aggressive form of cancer. And the pathology report showed that there were still remaining cells outside of the wide margins that he took. So he said, in order to really try and nip this in the bud, we'll have to go in again and take even larger margins. And he really was being he was I want to say, is liberal the right word? He was trying to like do more than like take it wider than he thought he would even need to. But just due to the type of cells and stuff, it was it's aggressive, right? So anyway, he needed to go further than he even thought he did. So February 7th, that is the next surgery date. And hello and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lauren. I am going to keep this episode short because it is 2:17 p.m. my time. It's Monday and I don't have an episode out yet. So I would like to say what I want to say, what's been on my mind, and then get it out to everyone in case anyone's waiting. Anywho, my intentions were to record it last night. I've been feeling a little bit punky. I started feeling kind of punky near the end of my shift yesterday. Um, so it was an early to bed, late to rise type of situation. I took some oil of oregano, some vitamin C, drinking fluids. If you're watching it on the YouTube channel, I have a cup with hot water, apple cider vinegar, and honey. It's really good for the throat. The apple cider vinegar kills bacteria, and the honey just kind of helps everything stick to the throat and makes it like a smoother experience, I guess. And it's not a great tasting beverage. It smells bad too, but I've been taking it since I was a kid. It's a goodie. Anywho, so that's why I don't have an episode out yet. And things have been turbulent, which I'm going to get into right now. So last month, if I haven't talked about Darla before, my mom and I kind of share a cat. She lives with my mom. We got her in 2011, about a year after my dad left. And I used to check the Humane Society website every once in a while, and she came up and she looked like Chrissy, my childhood kitty, and I thought she was super cute. So we adopted her in, I think it was April or May of 2011, maybe May. So we've had her almost 13 years, and so she'd be 14 or 15. They weren't sure her exact age since she was a rescue. Anywho, we've had her a long time. She's a spicy kitty. She's attacked us a few times. We've had some behavioral stuff, but we've worked with her. She definitely has anxiety, so we take some precautions, I guess, with her, or just we give her things to kind of mitigate. So we have the pheromones that are plugged into the wall that are supposed to be and help keep her calm. We use Bach Remedy for pets, and they're just drops that we put in her water, and yeah, just kind of respect her boundaries. And she's mellowed out a lot over the last, I'd say, I don't know, 2, 3 years maybe. She's become a lot nicer of a cat. But taking her to the vet is another thing. So last month in December, when my mom was away, I was checking in on her and I noticed when I was petting her a lump on her belly, which totally freaked me out because it was like, oh God, this is 20 years almost exactly to when we found Chrissy's lump on her belly. I made an appointment because I didn't want to wait till my mom got home. I just wanted to start the process. She needed to go to the vet anyway. It had been almost 2 years. We try every year, but as you know, through my stories and what's going on in my life, the last couple years have been less than even keel, I guess you would say. So I made an appointment, got her in. That wasn't a fun experience with how grown, like she does not do well at the vet as many pets do, but we managed. I felt so bad and we had to, I had to sedate her so that she would just, it would make it a little easier and her less stressful. Anywho, she had a full checkup, blood work, urine sample, this and that, and all the things. He inspected the lump and said he was confident that he could remove it all with good margins. She had her surgery on the 10th. Yeah, 10th of this month. So Wednesday will be 2 weeks post-op. The samples and stuff were sent to pathology and it came back. We got the results pretty quickly. He said 5 to 7 days, but I think it was only 3 or 4, which was great. And unfortunately, her pathology report came back and the tumor is an aggressive form of cancer. It's a mammary um adenocarcinoma, I believe it's called. I haven't looked that up yet. I've always been interested in medicine and how the body works and stuff. So these are types of things that I will like research a little bit just to help understand a bit more what's going on. Anywho, so even despite trying to get really great margins, there were still cells left essentially. He has to go back in, so that will be at a later date. We're just trying to let the incision heal a bit, so having a little bit of um, balance between those things. I think the idea is less. My guess would be less trauma to the tissue and stuff if you give it a little time to heal before going right back in. I'll perhaps keep the listeners posted if you want, I guess. Anywho, the reason I wanted to tell that story was because it really has been a conscious practice and an opportunity to practice surrender and release of circumstance and outcome through this time. I think that I have gotten better with this stuff just because, unfortunately and fortunately, I've had so much experience with people I love beyond measure going through really scary health situations. My Uncle Cam had cancer two, 3 times. Once was when I was really little, so I didn't understand it. But then he had complications years after that, was chronic and lasted a long time. And then they found he had a colon cancer runs in our family, so he had to have surgery to remove a section of his colon when some cells were found. And then later on, it ended up spreading and going into his abdomen, and that's what he passed away from. So kind of 3 bouts of this stuff, but things in between a little bit here and there that worried us because when you meet just I call them soul family because there's just a feeling to them that is so fulfilling. They just feel like home and you don't want anything bad to ever happen to them. And our pets are that way too, right? And my dad had a slew of health problems over the last like decade. 2016, I would say 16. No, it was before that. It was like 2014. So I mean he passed in 2022. So 8 years essentially of like just stuff kind of off and on, back to back, simultaneously, some more threatening than others. But a whole lot of experience in my life to the importance of surrendering when things are really scary. And even in the end, sometimes I look back and I see how it both helped me, but it also didn't fully prepare me for what was about to happen because I I surrendered, but I also kept hope, and I think hope is important, don't get me wrong, don't lose hope. Um, but I think I missed out on a few conversations that I may have had with him if I had really kinda sunk into the reality of it. I still really hindered on or hinged on the idea and the hope that there was still another option that they were exploring at the time, but they ran out of time. He passed away before. He passed away the day before when he was supposed to have a doctor's appointment in his blood work. Taking those experiences and applying them to this situation with Darla, we understand she's 15. Chrissy was only 10. So it was, and I was only 14 at the time, right? I'd only really lost Nicole at the time. So very different experience, way more wisdom now and life experience and understanding of things and my own connection to my own beliefs of kind of how things work and that I can lean into, but still dysregulating nonetheless. I also believe that part of whatever I'm purging here, or if I'm coming down with something a little bit, I it's, for me, in my body, it's an indication of, like, okay, what's been going on that maybe I haven't fully acknowledged, my stress level, or I've just got some stuff I need to let go of, and I believe that it can sometimes come out through physical symptoms too. So through this, it's been and this is kind of the point of this episode, I'll try and, like, keep going so we can finish up. It's been a real practice of letting it go. I have no control over the outcome. I have no control over whether she lives or dies. The control that I have is to love her, to take care of her, to trust the medical advice that we're given and the plan that's put in place, and also advocate for her, right? Um, I think with this type of cancer, again, I don't know a lot about it, but from the experience with Chrissy, I think Chrissy's was more progressed when we found it, and surgery wasn't an option. They said we could remove it, but it'll come back, and they didn't recommend, like, there was no, like, chemo, or I don't think. If they did, it was kinda like, well, it's not gonna really extend her life, and it'll put her through the ringer. Uh, Throughout the process. So it's kind of one of those things where my job here, the things that I can control are being active in advocating for Darla, advocating for her health, for her journey, what we're willing to do and in a sense put her through, and balancing, is it worth it? Is it going to improve her quality of life and her lifespan, or is she going to suffer and end up dying anyway? So at this point, the vet is confident that a second surgery will take away the issue. Then it's just a matter of, like, fingers crossed, letting go, knowing that it's not in our power whether it comes back or not, or whatever happens. I don't know why it showed up in the first place, and just surrendering and really, like, sometimes visualizing, like, I let it go, and just visualize letting it out of your body, that urge to feel the control or need to have some control on the outcome or the circumstance, because the fact is we don't. Our brain likes to feel like it does, because then this goes back to kind of the evolution of our species and survival. That primitive brain is only about surviving. It's not about thriving. It's only about surviving. Doesn't care about anything else. So when we can feel like we have control, we can feel like the outcome's going to be good, we'll survive, blah, blah, blah. The reality is there's so many other factors that impede that possibility. of course I worry about Darla. It's natural. I love her. And so I think about like, oh God, what if we can't get ahead of it? Or I think we can based on the information I have now. But at the time when I found this lump, I didn't know what it was and I was worried about it. But it's like I took the action to call the vet, make an appointment, start having it looked at, and then obviously having it removed. And in the meantime, just like loving on her, sending her so much love, healing vibes, all the things, right? I really surrendered into and was mindful and focused on what can I do to kind of help this situation in a loving way. How can I support Darla? Really was the focus. How can I support her? And that will also help support me because if I know she's taken care of, while also taking care of myself and doing the getting good sleep and taking care of my body, I know that I have the capacity to overflow it into taking care of her and making sure that her needs are met. She's comfortable, she's happy, she's loved. And I think that's been really apparent. I'll tell a quick little story before I finish. She few days ago, I was at my mom's, I guess a week ago today. It was a week ago tomorrow. And I was on the couch and each side has a recliner. So I had my feet up and I had the blanket around me. And she was up on the couch and I felt a tapping and she was tapping on my leg. And then she crawled up on me. She's never crawled on anyone. Well, at least not since we've had her. She doesn't sit on us. She'll sit beside us if we let her sit in the middle of the couch. That's the only part of the couch. And that's a recent thing too, by the way. Um, she has her own chair, but she started really wanting to sit beside my mom on the couch. So as she's aged, she's gotten a little bit mushier inside, I guess. And I had my mom take a picture and my mouth is wide, like, did hell freeze over? Because what is happening? So it was good for a giggle. And and then yeah, then later on I was sitting again, she came up and curled up on me and fell asleep and I just kind of had my hands on her and um just kind of asking for some healing energy for her to help her just be comfortable and heal up that incision. We check it not every day. She gives us she makes it a two-person job with her feistiness, but it's healing well and we're confident that round two will be great too when she gets her surgery. So the point of this is when things are really dysregulating, have like develop the awareness of what that looks like and feels like in your body, how your body reacts to stress, because there's a wide range of symptoms. Can be anything from like physical tightness in your muscles. You could start to if you're normally a good sleeper, you're starting to lose sleep over things, right? So really having those foundational pieces in place already and knowing your body when these dysregulating events and these these interruptions and these scary things happen with and around our loved ones, we get those signals, those signs really quickly. Our body is always communicating with us, and we can very quickly pick up on exactly how that's kind of manifesting in our body and start to put the actions in place to better support ourselves, but also what am I clinging to in this situation that is causing more suffering and more stress? What are the things I'm clinging to that I have no control over? How can I let them go? Or like if they're not serving me, if they're making me more stressed out, they need to be let go of if I don't want to get sick myself or make things worse. And how do I f- how do I let it go? And what can I focus on to support the situation? What is in my control and how can I support either myself or my loved one to navigate this situation with more grace and ease? kind of the bottom line, right? And sometimes we need to journal it out. Sometimes we need to get quiet, get in sort of a meditative state, sink back into our body, and just visualize like what, ask yourself with your eyes closed or eyes open if that's more comfortable. What is what am I struggling with about the situation in the situation? What is causing me pain, causing me grief, causing me suffering, causing me stress? Let those things will come to your mind. You'll see them, or you'll have a knowing of like, these are the things, these are the parts of this situation that are helping, and then visualize a way of like releasing them. Maybe you feel like there's a cord, like a rope attached to you in that thing, that part of the situation. What can you visualize? Can you use scissors? Is it like a ribbon? Is it a big strong thing? And again, it's just like it's interesting how this imagery comes to our mind when we get quiet and we start to get curious and open about it without any expectations. Maybe it's like really had a hold on you. I had a situation that felt like a massive rope that could be used to like secure a boat. And it's like you need like a chainsaw to cut that one. But it's all relevant, and it's all how your mind kind of imagines it and processes it, because when you can have imagery, I think that just kind of it adds a different element to the symbolism or reality of it, and then it allows you to, okay, what tool do I need? Also, kind of in my imagination, what do I need to kind of sever that tie? How big is that string or rope or whatever it is? And then just this is in Eastern, I think it's more of like an Eastern philosophy. It's called cord cutting, essentially. Um, Cutting the cords of the things that tie us to the things that cause us suffering. It's part of surrendering, it's part of release work. And it helps us in these times where we're clinging onto the things we can't, we're ruminating and clinging to the things that we can't control, and it takes away from our focus on the things that we can. If we're ruminating so much about the worry of someone being sick and trying to take care of them and stuff, it's taking our energy and mind, like our focus away from like actually just loving them and spending very conscious time with them, being very present with them. So that's just one example. But the overarching theme here is, if you're going through a difficult situation, get quiet, get curious, journal it out if you need to journal it, say it out loud if you need to say it out loud. However you work and process things and learn, that'll be part of how you will release things. But release it. Release it, release it, release it. It will help the journey be so much lighter. It doesn't mean you're not going to worry. That's natural. When we love someone, we're going to worry a little bit, but is it taking us away from the things that we can help to navigate it easier? Okay, that's it for me today. I'm gonna get this podcast edited really quick and out into the world. I hope everyone's doing well, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.